We've been reporting on the renaissance going on in the city of Glens Falls for several years now. The $10 million state downtown revitalization grant is complete and a success. Businesses are growing on Glen and South Streets. There's a big art hub and an old shirt factory. As the city grows, so do issues like affordable housing, homelessness, and long-term planning. Those are the issues the city's new mayor is tackling. A conversation with Diana Palmer on today's Story of the Day.
Support for Story of the Day comes from Morja Wealth Management, serving the North Country for 3 generations. MorjaWM.com. Securities offered through Hightower Securities, LLC, member FINRA, SIPC. Hightower is an SEC-registered investment advisor. And Kinney Drugs, now accepting S3, Nations Benefits, and OTC Network Wellness Benefit cards for eligible over-the-counter health items. Details at KinneyDrugs.com.
Hey, I'm David Sommerstein. It's Tuesday, February 17th. First up, there was an explosion at a church in Boonville this morning. Emergency crews responded to reports of a gas odor at Abundant Life Church, southeast of the city. Amy Viereisel has the latest details.
Tuesday morning around 10:30, the pastor of Abundant Life Church on Route 12 called 911 after noticing a smell of gas in the building. The Boonville Fire Department responded, and less than 20 minutes later, an explosion occurred. According to the Village of Boonville Police Chief David Olney, who responded to the incident, the pastor and 4 firefighters, including the fire chief, were inside the church when it exploded. All 5 were taken to nearby hospitals for treatment for serious injuries. Emergency crews who responded to the explosion fought the ensuing fire, which engulfed the church in smoke and flames. The New York State Police and New York State Fire are investigating the incident, with the cause of the leak and explosion unknown. The state police say they do not have suspicions of foul play. Amy Viereisel, North Country Public Radio.
An American woman won gold in bobsled at the Olympics yesterday. Alana Myers-Taylor took home the top prize while her teammate Kaylee Humphreys won bronze. Both women are in their 40s and brought their kids out to celebrate. It was Myers-Taylor's 6th Olympic medal, but her first time ever winning gold. Meanwhile, Lake Placid ski jumper Tate Franz made his Olympic debut on Saturday. The 20-year-old finished in 19th place, just ahead of his American teammate. And 2 luge athletes from the North Country missed out on medals in the team relay by just 0.3 of a second. Messina's Johnny Gustafson and Sophia Kirkby from Raybrook were on the 6-person luge relay team. They ultimately finished in 5th place at last week's team relay, which was the last luge event of the Games. Glens Falls elected its first female mayor last fall. Diana Palmer served on the city council for 8 years before defeating Mayor Bill Collins in the Democratic primary. Palmer is a licensed therapist who's lived in the city with her family for more than a decade. She spoke with Emily Russell about housing, affordability, and helping residents in need.
So it feels safe to say that Glens Falls is on the rise. It's been on the rise for a while now, for years, maybe a decade or more. I grew up here. It did not look this way 30 years ago or so. Looking backwards first, what do you see as key to the city's success up until now?
I think one of the biggest strengths of Glens Falls is the interested and dedicated people who live here, who care about the city and want to see it succeed. So we have so many great public-private partnerships, thinking about the Cool Insuring Arena, for example, and the Civic Center Coalition. That's an example of a partnership that led to us being more successful. You may remember that in 2017, the city got out of fiscal distress. We were in a period of fiscal distress monitoring, and a big part of that was being able to move operations of the Civic Center to the Civic Center Coalition and take that away from the city. So those kind of partnerships are part of why we are so successful.
So for cities that are growing and are succeeding, one issue is housing. Mm-hmm. And I spoke to someone today who moved here from Saratoga who feels like she got outpriced of housing in Saratoga. And she's worried that that could happen here. I know there are a number of housing developments here, but for the people who are working in the cafes, in the restaurants, trade jobs, what are you doing to ensure that there is affordable, accessible housing for the working community here in Glens Falls?
A couple things. One, I'm a big supporter of mixed income developments, and I think there are ways to encourage that rather than necessarily mandate it. So if you look at some of the development that's happening on South Street, one of those buildings will have some workforce housing, like you discussed, mixed in with market rate housing in the same development. And I really think that's the better way to go, because then people live together based on having common interests as opposed to living together based on their income affordability. And we need units at every price point in the city. Another thing, though, that I think is really important is that the city is just about to complete our comprehensive plan. That had not been updated for over 20 years. So I'm really excited that we're getting to the end of that, and we will leverage that to apply for funding to update our zoning code. And I think there is a lot related to zoning updates that has to do with affordability, right? So we have to make sure that we have density in areas where it makes sense. We have to remove unnecessary barriers to development, like certain setback requirements or parking requirements. But at the same time, it's important to the people here that we preserve our history and character. And so there's a real opportunity for positive changes with that zoning update. And I'm really excited that I'll have the Director of Planning and Zoning in place when that starts.
I want to stay on housing a little bit more. I wonder what your thoughts are on the city's unhoused population. I know I've seen from time to time people on benches, at bus stops. How significant do you think that issue is, and do you have a plan to address it?
I think that's a significant issue everywhere. It's not just in Glens Falls. So there was a committee that was formed in the prior administration to look at this. And the two things that I am really focusing on as a starting point are bringing back dedicated foot patrols in our police department. I think that's really important, like a downtown city beat officer. Another thing is that I, along with our social worker, Darlene Hafner, applied for opioid funding grants from Warren County to start the LEAD program here, which stands for Law Enforcement Assisted Diversion. It's a national model. It's been very successful across the country. And what that will do is if we have people who are repeat interactors with law enforcement, but not necessarily dangerous, their issues have to do with poverty, mental health, substance, things like that, they can be given an opportunity to be diverted away from the criminal justice system and be connected to a case manager who will follow them for the long term, not just a brief intervention, but will stay with them and help them get the services they need. So getting the LEAD program up and running and getting the foot patrols back are two of my main focuses.
You are the first female elected mayor of the city. How significant do you think that is?
It's not something that was part of my campaign. I don't think I ever even mentioned it, but at my swearing-in ceremony for me and for the council, I did say, when history occurs, you have to mark it, and I think that that's important. We have had several pioneering women in the city government in the past, and I was so grateful that some of them attended that event. There was one woman, Hesper Little, who was council at large. The current mayor at that time became ill and unable to do the job, and so she actually filled in as acting mayor. So she was the first woman in Glens Falls to really perform the duties. She wasn't elected as mayor. But I think it's really important to think about the people who came before us and also, bring in the youth so that we have a city that's sustainable and that everybody is invited to participate in.
That was Glens Falls Mayor Diana Palmer speaking with Emily Russell. We have more news all the time on our website, ncpr.org. Music today by Patricia Julian of Burlington and Paul Myers of Colton. I'm David Summerstein, North Country Public Radio.